To the Shadow Chancellor, who's played a huge part in the Labour manifesto. He joins us now from that manifesto launch in Birmingham. Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell, welcome to the programme. John McDonnell,
could I just answer that point? Could I just answer that point, Andrew?
Please.
On exchange controls, let me make this clear. I have never raised it. I have never raised it with the civil servants. I have made it clear time and time again. We are not introducing exchange controls. And I'm in the access talks with the civil servants at the moment. And these are the first we've had, apart from before the last election. We have never raised exchange controls. This is just a myth that's been put about.
Why then did you once say that you had been? Why did you once say you'd been game planning capital controls?
Because someone had raised that as a question with me. This was in the very early stages.
And you said you'd been doing it,
Andrew. No, I didn't. I said we will game plan every scenario, but I made it clear in the same speech that we did not support exchange controls. And I have never raised it with the civil servants, and we are not game planning that. And I've made this clear time and time again, yet it keeps on being repeated. It is just not true.
So let's just be clear. Under a Labour government, there is no prospect whatsoever of capital controls being introduced.
No, we've said that time and time again, and I repeat again, I have not asked the civil servants or raised it with them in any of the discussions that we've had with regard to the preparation for government.
All right. Well, you see, last week you also said, when asked if there would be a windfall tax on oil and gas companies, you said a windfall tax on oil companies? No, no. And today you've announced a windfall tax.
No, the question I was asked was that there was a leak at the weekend about a windfall tax. Can you tell us how you will operate it? And I said, no, no. And I'm not going into the detail of our manifesto.
No, you were asked if there would be a windfall tax, and you said no.
I was go back to the actual question I was asked. Go and have a look at the actual transcript of that. It was asked by a representative in the Daily Telegraph. They said there was a leak at the windfall tax at the weekend. Is that so? Can you tell us how it's going to operate? And I said, no, no. And full stop. I'm not going to discuss the manifesto in advance.
You've got one that's to be, I think, about an £11 billion windfall tax on oil and gas companies. Why would they not just go offshore?
Well, we haven't determined the level yet. What we've said, we'll now go into consultation and discussion with them. What we've said is 11 billion is what is estimated to be used for the just transition. This issue now is about how we transition from fossil fuel dependency on oil into alternative energy sources. And it is about all those jobs now dependent on North Sea oil being transferred onto alternative energy sources. That's the costings. We will now sit down with the UK-based companies to talk to them about how that's done. And again, what we're trying to do is act responsibly and make sure that even those companies retain a stake, because many of them may well want to be involved, as some of them are diversifying into alternative energy sources.
All right, I'll come back to that in a minute, but let me come on to the housing plan, because there's been a centrepiece today. You hope by in about 4 or 5 years' time to be building 100,000 council homes a year. Will in 2024-25, will these new homes have gas-fired central heating and cooking?
No. Okay. What we're now doing is we're examining in detail exactly how, first of all, these homes will be insulated properly, so they'll have the highest energy counts that we possibly can, in terms of making sure we reduce their energy demands overall. That's the first step on that. And then secondly, we're looking at solar panels for the energy source, but also heat pumps too. So in that way, they will contribute towards tackling climate change as well.
Right, but they won't have gas central heating?
We will explore the alternatives available with us. We've been working with the Climate Change Committee, and you know what they're saying about our long-term plans with regard to energy, and also alternatives that there'll be, and that's exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be using the best advice and the most leading-edge technology to make sure the homes we build actually contribute to tackling climate change rather than contributing to it.
But it seems to me you're not ruling out that the central heating and cooking systems of a lot of these new homes will still be fitted with gas. You're going to need gas, and yet you're going to put a windfall tax on gas companies. I mean, what's the point? You need the gas.
What we're trying to do is make sure there's a fair balance between those companies that have made quite significant profits out of fossil fuels and have had tax subsidies largely to do that in over 100 billion, and their contribution is actually now to ensure that they help us steer towards a just transition. And that's exactly what we'll do, but we'll work with them. We'll go with the grain of the discussions now, because I've been touring around the city, as you know, and I've been meeting various asset managers and investors and a number of companies as well. What they're worried about now is their investments in what they describe as stranded assets, so fossil fuel in particular. How do we transition investors and others from fossil fuels into alternative energy sources? And we can build consensus on this, because, you know, many of the investors I've been meeting are saying, look, we want to contribute too to tackling climate change. They live on the same planet as us. They want to work with us.
Right. Okay. I'm not quite sure the oil and gas companies are queuing up to pay a windfall tax, but we'll see if your cups of tea with them produce that. You've taken this figure.
Well, I think they will work with us.
We shall see. We shall see if you get the chance. Let me come on to this.
They'll work with us responsibly.
You know, you give us a figure of 100,000 council homes that you want to build, and you know, politicians of all parties can pluck figures out, and it's 4 or 5 years away, and it's quite hard to judge if this is ever deliverable. But Labour runs Wales. You've been in power there for a while. How many council houses did you build in Wales last year?
Well, part of the problem in any area, Wales or wherever it is, they've been starved of resources too by central government.
How many did you build?
They've been hit by austerity just as much as anywhere else.
How many did you build?
Past records are relevant. Future record is important. We've got to rebuild the institutions that will deliver these council houses. In other words, local government. We're looking to the future, not the past. And let me make this absolutely clear. The reason we're doing this is because I've been touring around the country every other Saturday, meeting in small communities. Every meeting I've had with the general public, local businesses, local council leaders, they're telling us we've got a housing crisis.
We know
700 people, 700 people died on our streets last year. We have massive housing queues. Children being brought up in containers. And the message comes, we need a housing programme on a scale we've not seen for generations.
If that's
and that's what we'll do. And we'll rebuild councils to do that.
We can only judge you on your past record, because the future is another country. We can't judge the future.
Well, with the greatest respect, you've not seen a Corbyn government.
In power, your party in power.
You have not
built. Excuse me, let me get the question out, Mr. McDonnell. Your party built 59 council houses in Wales last year, and yet you expect us to believe you can do 100,000.
Held back by a Tory government, 9 years, nearly a decade of austerity. You've not seen us in power
yet. Housing is a devolved matter. They could build the houses that they want. It's a devolved issue.
Their overall financial settlement is determined at the UK level, and you know that. The position now is very clear. When we go into government on December the 13th, we will start that building programme. We'll reinvigorate councils, whether they be Labour or Tory, it doesn't matter. We'll give them the resources to tackle this housing crisis. It is unacceptable in the 5th largest economy in the world to have a government that cannot house its own people. We will.
All right, Mr. McDonnell, I'm told I have to let you go. There's so much more I'd like to ask you questions about. I hope we'll get the chance.
I'll come back.
I hope we'll get the chance before December the 12th. But it's an important day for you in Birmingham. We'll let you get on with your manifesto launch.